and welcome to Slow Blinks TV. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Charles.
And today we're going to be talking about
Do you want me to do this bit?
Not really.
Let's just skip it.
Okay. And today we're going to be talking about
Lab 2021. One of my favorite Adult Swim cartoons. You got Captain Murphy. You've got Hesh. You've got White Debbie.
No. We are talking about SeaQuest. It's not a cartoon. It's a live-action show from the 1990s, okay? The box is right here.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So let's talk about SeaQuest. Slow Blinks.
Why in God's name did you pick SeaQuest?
I love
DSV.
it. Because I love it.
What did the DSV stand for?
Deep Submergence Vehicle.
It's a submarine. It's a real big submarine.
Yeah, and it goes real deep. Steven Spielberg is one of the producers, so like the budget for the show is actually like pretty good. One of the big things that I think influenced the people who made SeaQuest would be Star Trek, specifically The Next Generation. Especially in the first season. I would say the second and third seasons go a little further away from that, but you have comparisons like there's the UEO, which is a lot like Starfleet. I guess it's more like the Federation.
I kind of want to walk through some of the characters before we get into the plot of this particular episode.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with our Picard, our captain of the ship. We've got Roy Scheider from Jaws fame, which I think is a good fit for this show.
Mm-hmm.
And he is Captain Bridger.
Yes, and some of his comparisons, I would say he's more of a man of science.
First and foremost, I consider myself a man of science.
Like Picard is.
Yes.
He also has a lot of dead family.
The one character, let's just get to him right now.
Sure.
Commander Jonathan Ford, played by actor Don Franklin. I can't think of who his one-to-one is.
Get us away from that bomb. Get us out of here.
So one thing that The Next Generation had that TOS did not have was a boy wonder. And we've got that.
Yes, we've got our very own Wesley Crusher in the character of...
Lucas Wallencheck.
Yes, Lucas Wallencheck, otherwise known as the kid from Neverending Story 2. I knew I recognized him. That's who it was.
He was also in this really terrible movie called Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield. And...
Is that a baseball movie?
I feel like it's soccer. He is incredibly smart for his age and then works entirely around adults.
Cooler than Wesley Crusher. And I thought Wesley Crusher was the coolest.
Do you want this to become violent?
I will say, though, he was fairly young when he was on the show. And I think that sometimes he had breakouts and that they just had this very orange Maybelline that they put on him. Because there's a few shots in, like, this red turtleneck where he's pretty pancakey. Okay, so the other character I would say has a little bit of a one-to-one ratio would be Dr. Westphalen.
Do you know what her first name is?
Kristen.
Yeah. She spells it wrong, though.
She does spell it I-N, which is incorrect, but that is her name. And then I would say she does have some Dr. Crusher energy. She's not Lucas Wallencheck's mother, but she does have kind of that tete-a-tete energy with the captain.
I think you're jealous.
The two characters that I want to talk about before we talk about the episode, one of them is Ben Krieg, the supply officer. He also calls himself the morale officer. I really connect Ben Krieg's character, not with anybody from Next Generation, but much more with Tom Paris from Voyager. He's a bit of a rogue. He always has a quip. Opposite Ben Krieg is his former wife, Katie Hitchcock.
But they're only in the first season, so that they never get back together.
One of the interesting things about SeaQuest is that unlike Next Generation, which had very few cast changes, this would have massive crew changes season to season.
A lot of the characters that we've mentioned aren't in season 2, and then they bring on new characters, and they replace the captain.
Yes, the captain was replaced by Michael Ironside in season 3, who we know from V. And one of Michael Ironside's rules was that he didn't want to have scenes where he talked to the dolphin.
The dolphin's name is Darwin.
Darwin. Sounds like that.
He doesn't actually talk. There's a machine in the moon pool that's supposed to take his thoughts and transfer them into kind of a speech.
The way that Darwin gets around SeaQuest is these transparent kind of hamster tubes, and it doesn't look like there's enough room for him to turn around. So, like, he's just constantly trying to figure out where he is.
Darwin lost!
And the submarine is way too deep for him to go out normally, so they give him this little...
They give him a little scuba gear. There's a couple, like, bridge people that will...
There's Ortiz. There's Ted Raimi's character.
Yeah, there's Big Ears.
All right.
Let's talk about the episode. It's called Treasures of the Tonga Trench. I believe it's the 4th episode of the first season.
Okay. Yeah, and as I've said, it sounds like Treasures of the Tonga Trench sounds like it could have actually been the title of an episode of...
Stingray!
The episode starts with the couple that we are divorced, Katie and Ben. Ben is kind of piloting a craft. They're called sea crabs.
Yeah, he's getting training. He wants to be certified to drive them himself.
You want help getting ready for the UEO proficiency drills? I'll help. You want Act Q? Save it for Captain Clayton, the UEO inspector.
So Krieg gets attacked in his sea crab by a big monster that we don't really see. All we see is kind of tentacles in the front, which is usually not how animals swim.
He just does a quick prayer.
When he... Oh, that's right. He frantically prays.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Amen!
He reorients the ship, and when he gets control of the ship and turns the power back on...
Yeah, he sees a bunch of shiny rocks, basically, or something shining bioluminescence in the trench, and he is enamored. He gets back to the ship. He's got a big backpack full of something. His ex-wife is like, hey, what happened out there?
It's a big ocean out there. And maybe there are still a few things that you and I don't understand.
He actually ends up going to the bridge and talking to Ortiz, asking Ortiz to run some scans to see if SeaQuest or any of its got some surrounding little ships
Called Whiskers.
called Whiskers. If they picked up any, like, biologics is what they're called.
I spent the last hour out in a crab. I gotta know if Whiskers picked up anything, unusual. A biologic, maybe?
Clayton had me running drills with Junior and Mother. Loner might have seen something when I wasn't monitoring. I want to check his memory?
Thanks.
Captain Clayton is awesome. He is...
He's very competitive and strict, and we think maybe a little bit into Bridger.
Yeah, there's just
This weird vibe.
I'm talking muscle mass, brute strength, strip to the waist. Let's see what you've got.
We actually get to see Clayton. He is running a water rescue drill with the team. So they're all in the moon pool. You get to see Bridger, and you get to see Commander Ford, and you get to meet Darwin for the first time.
One of the things that we learn in this scene is that Captain Clayton hates the science team. He doesn't think the ship should really have any science features. He's purely a military guy. So a big part of this is them trying to, like, prove the science is valuable. One of the things I really like about the rescue scene is how cool they try to make a bunch of dudes jumping into a swimming pool look.
And as long as it's under 3 minutes, it's good. And Ford drags it out just a little bit.
So like 2 minutes, 55 seconds or something.
Yeah. This is the first time that Captain Clayton sees Darwin, and he's like, what is that?
Natural sonar.
Your dolphin was out of formation.
After that, Ortiz goes to Krieg's quarters to tell him that he didn't pick anything up on sensors, and Krieg decides to disclose what happened in the sea crab earlier to him.
What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room. Have you ever known? I mean, been absolutely certain that you were gonna die. I looked out the window and I saw this thing coming right at me. It had to be huge. It knew exactly what it was doing. We're the only ones who know about it.
And he gets to give that same monologue about 3 or 4 times. The very next scene, we see Krieg and Lucas.
Right.
Because Lucas Wallencheck is the only one, apparently, who can get a secure line. So he's talking to a buyer that might want to buy these shiny rocks. He's not had them tested at all. We still don't know what they are. And he's already trying to sell them to some, like, jewelry manufacturer.
I call it Krieglite. More rare than diamonds, more beautiful than rubies or emeralds. And every woman's gonna want a piece of Krieglite.
Lose the name. Krieglite. Sounds like something you hacked up from the back of your throat.
But immediately we see that he's already told somebody else.
Yeah.
And his thing to Ortiz was a lie.
Krieg is sweating so much.
Mostly in his quarters.
Yeah, but like the other characters aren't.
Yeah.
So that's strange. Like
I
he's
feel like he's going through something.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Okay.
It seems like he's going through something.
We have another scene with the captain. That one's really not important. All I want to mention is that every scene that he's in, it looks like he's about to kiss somebody.
Okay, I feel like that's a direction thing in the show though, because at the very end of that last like pitch scene,
yeah,
Lucas and Krieg, they're like this close to each other.
So speaking of uncomfortable, we have a scene where that divorced couple, who is always kind of like bickering, she corners him.
Yep, she corners him to be like, I know something happened out there.
Oh, Lieutenant Krieg. I guarantee I will accompany you to that launch bay and personally see to it that you don't go anywhere in anything until you tell me what happened out there.
Have you ever known? I mean, been absolutely certain that you were gonna die?
Hitchcock and Krieg go to their version of the shuttle bay to check out the sea crab because Hitchcock would like to try to find whatever monster Krieg was talking about. Because here we see pandemonium.
Yes.
Everybody's checked out a sea crab, and there's clearly kind of that gold rush fever, but for these shiny rocks.
So clearly the word has gotten out. Everybody's been told.
Krieg kind of gives a speech to everybody.
But if we're gonna be partners in this, then let's do it right.
So, first thing we gotta do is get organized. Work in shifts. Keep teams moving around the clock. No one neglects their duties. Captain, Bridger, or Clayton suspect anything, will be shut down for sure. Got it?
All right, then.
One of the best things about Captain Clayton, as we've said, is his dedication to physical fitness. But in this, he calls out the captain, Captain Bridger, and he's like, you're scrawny or whatever.
You need to be setting an example.
You do it.
He doesn't, I don't know if he says touch me on my body, but that's very much the vibe. He's trying to get him to touch his body.
Great upper body strength. Flat gut. And the buttocks of a 16-year-old.
As Captain Bridger is just trying to walk away.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to engage with this at
This
all.
happens a lot when he's being challenged by Clayton.
Feel for yourself. You think I'm kidding? I've cracked walnuts with these cheeks.
Oh, Commander Ford tells them that there's no sea crabs available right now. Well, if we can't do this thing right now, maybe we can settle a few things, which means a swimming race.
I guess.
Between the two captains that Bridger agrees to.
And wins.
And wins.
Get set, go!
And they try so freaking hard in the same way as when they were jumping into the pool. They try to make these middle-aged men doing a swimming race look cool.
And it doesn't.
It doesn't.
So the next scene, we see Krieg and Hitchcock in his quarters. She's trying to ask him more about the monster and trying to piece together where it might be because she hasn't been able to find it. When they are interrupted by a whole lot of people, including Lucas and Ortiz and Ted Raimi, and they just start grabbing rocks.
Or there's the other way, where you could forget about how long you've known each other, or about how all the money in the world isn't going to erase the poverty that's choking in your rotting souls.
We've been talking to an R&D group. They think this stuff's gonna make a great light source for deep-sea colonies. I'm gonna be...
This is about the second or third time it's mentioned that Krieg's quarters smell really bad.
Yes, and we'll find out more about that later.
You know, it really does stink in here.
So one of the tests that the crew has to go through is a lights out drill, which is basically they cut all the lights on the ship.
They need to be able to like get to their stations in the dark. Seems really hard because the only ones with like night vision goggles are the captains and the commander. This provides a problem for the secret of the glowing rocks because now the lights are out and they are very visible. Oh, I'm going to try that again because I think I said visible.
No. They're very visible.
They're very visible. So they see Krieg, and Krieg evades them, but then they see Lucas, and Lucas goes to the moon pool to try to dump the rocks in Darwin's tank. They catch him, and they turn the lights on, and they're like, what is this? Darwin does not want these things in his tank.
No, Darwin does fun circus tricks to get them out.
Do you think he's trying to tell us something?
Sir, I think I can explain everything. Have you ever known, I mean, been absolutely certain that you were gonna die?
After the lights come on, something happens.
So one is the CGI monster.
Yes.
But the practical monster is my favorite thing.
Oh, he's climbing into... That's so loud. Okay, so Worf is going to hang out for maybe a second.
Just for some quiet.
We also get to see Dr. Westphalen. This is the first time she's been in the episode.
Oh, right. She is we've talked before, she's sort of the Beverly Crusher character, but she's a science officer.
She comes up to try to explain a little bit about squids because that's their best guess, is that it's a giant squid. She tells Clayton a little bit about like bioluminescence and how big they are and that they are meat eaters. We get a clue from Darwin.
What have you seen, huh?
Shining. Sees the shining.
What kind of gibberish is that?
We get to see one of the tentacles.
And the tentacle is great. It is a giant, transparent, I think silicone thing.
Yep.
Filled with
lights.
It's got bioelectricity, right? Can it do zapping?
Yeah, they say that it gives off an electrical vibe, which is why they didn't pick it up on sensors previously. I think this is when Westphalen connects Shining sees the shining. He's like, oh, we're shiny, and it probably eats a lot of shiny things. So now let's try cutting the power. And they cut the power, and it works, and the
squid lets go.
Yep, the squid leaves.
You see the tentacle go away.
Clayton wanted to destroy it, but very Star Trek, they're like, absolutely not.
This is a brand new life form we've never said before. And he's like, blow it up. And so the lesson at the end that Clayton learns, though, even though he did want to blow this thing up, is that like, oh, Dr. Westphalen saved the day, science.
With her science brain. We get one more little scene with Krieg and Clayton before Clayton leaves.
Yeah.
And Krieg hooks him up with a bunch of shiny rocks and gives him his connection Murray, probably to try to kiss up.
Confidentially, Lieutenant. I've always thought the supply officer is the glue that holds the boat together.
The next scene is Dr. Westphalen again, and she is studying the glowing rocks. Finally, if this was Star Trek, those would have been studied right away before anybody touched them.
Tricorder.
But I went through the data from the probe, and it doesn't have the tentacles of a squid. It is, however, related to Mr. Krieg's glowing rocks. Krieg's gold is, fecal pellets.
Fish poop. You gave Clayton fish poop.
Which is why everyone keeps telling Krieg that his quarters stink.
Captain Bridger, the way that he decides to punish Krieg for, you know, all of this BS.
You're confined to quarters.
Okay, not a problem. I'll just finish my cleaning and...
No cleaning. You're confined to quarters as of now.
It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be lighthearted and funny. But that's the end of the episode.
There's one bit that's in every SeaQuest episode that I've seen that is not in Star Trek, and that is after or during the credits of the show. There's like a real science segment.
Hello, I'm Bob Ballard from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Although the deep-sea creature we saw on tonight's show doesn't really exist, now the light that deep-sea creatures produce is called bioluminescence. It's created by a chemical reaction inside their bodies. See you on the next exciting adventure of SeaQuest DSV.
So that was SeaQuest. You can either buy a Blu-ray or something like that, or of course, I think it's NBC has it available for streaming. But I would actually recommend it. I think it's a good show. I like it.
The one episode I will also recommend, just for a bit of fun, there's an episode with William Shatner.
I will give up claims to my country. In return, you will give me the vocoder and the dolphin, and safe passage from this boat.
Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, did you burn yourself?
Oh, that's from doing the...
Oh.
Oh my god, it looks really gross. No,
you were doing that for so long.
I was doing it for so long. No, the raking. I told you.
Oh, okay.
I got a blister and
I didn't
then
realize that's
and then it was this.